Mass incarceration has been a problem since the Reagan administration. It has been almost 40 years since Reagan has left the office, and his influence on the justice system still stands. Reagan was not the only president to help the system of unfair imprisonment. Clinton, in typical American politician fashion, promised anything and everything to win the race. He promised to introduce tough on crime policies, and he delivered this promise once in office. Clinton made life almost impossible for people after they had been in prison. Lots of people had said slavery never ended in America, and the system of mass incarceration is no doubt one form of modern day slavery. Reagan started the crack cocaine epidemic. He declared a war on drugs after a year in office, when the drug use rate was already declining. During his presidency, crack hit the streets harder than any drug epidemic had hit before. He grabbed a hold of this tragedy happening in the country and used it to divert money into the war on drugs across the U.S. He sent a team of photographers and videographers to capture crack abuse in inner cities and make it a media news sensation. His plan worked, and everyone turned their attention to the drug abuse going on. Congress devoted millions of dollars into the war and implemented very harsh minimum sentences for drug-related crimes, even the most simplest and non-violent ones. That is not all. Once it came time for Reagan to be voted out of office, Clinton promised in his campaign to not treat criminals lightly and proposed the tough on crime policies. Clinton used this to his advantage and delivered the promise once he was in office. Not only did he keep the severe punishments for drug-related crimes, he made post-prison life almost impossible for anyone who had served time and was a convicted felon. He stripped them of any public rights, including food stamps and others. Nowadays, anybody branded as a felon has to work twice as hard as anyone in our society. Not any job will hire them because of their record. They cannot possess guns, even if they aren't convicted of a violent crime, and they have to follow certain post-prison life rules like parole or drug test or serve community service outside of the prison. Otherwise, they will be sent right back. The war on drugs was really an excuse to keep black and brown men in an enclosed loop when they find no way out, which is why this has been called a form of modern-day slavery. There's been many cases where white folks are treated less harshly than their colored counterparts on cases that should have similar outcomes. A lot of those men were simply trying to make a living. Sure, they forged the illegal and wrong path, but in an inner city community, that is all they know. They know they have to put food on the table for their families, and selling drugs is usually the answer to make some quick cash in those communities. 4 out of 5 people on drug charges aren't even violently related cases, yet the system treats them harshly because of laws and regulations that have been standing since the 80s. Compared to the countries with similar crime rates, we have almost 6 times as many people serving jail time. More men today are in prison or riddled as felons now than there were slaves in the year 1850. Just another number that sums up how modern-day slavery works. The war on drugs also rips apart the social fabric of the communities it hits. Kids without fathers and mothers without sons. There's pieces and people missing in these communities, and the war on drugs is who we have to blame. Instead of declaring a war on drugs, we should be more focused on cutting this problem out at the root in these poverty-ridden communities, in the schools, and trying to teach young people how to become better people without having to involve themselves in illegal activity. We must stop the problem before it becomes a problem. We should be teaching these kids from a young age that the right path in life so that they stay out of trouble from the jump. Removing influences that lead them down the path before it creates an avalanche, before the snowball creates an avalanche. Another problem we face is that the drug the kingpins of the drug communities aren't even the ones being taken down. It's the users, and they are the ones who suffer.